Maya stood at the airport gate, holding her small suitcase with both hands. Her palms were sweating, and her heart was beating fast. It was her first time flying alone. She had never even left her city before, and now, she was about to fly across the country to New York City for something she had only dreamed of, a college scholarship interview. She looked around. So many people, so many loud voices, so many white faces. She suddenly felt small in the big world. But Maya had come a long way. Raised by a single mother who worked 2 jobs, she knew the value of hard work. She was smart, polite, and respectful. And today, she wore her best dress, light blue with white flowers. Her braids were neat, and her shoes were clean. Now boarding group 3. The speaker called. That was her. She took a deep breath and walked forward with her boarding pass in hand. A kind young woman at the gate smiled and said, "Have a good flight." Maya walked down the jet bridge slowly, her hands still shaking. Inside the plane, she looked at her ticket again. Seat 14B. She found it, the middle seat. The window seat, 14A, was still empty. She gently placed her bag in the overhead bin and sat down. She looked out the window for a second before folding her hands on her lap. As she waited, a tall, older white man walked down the aisle. He wore a suit and looked important. He stopped near her and frowned. "This is 14A, right?" he asked, with a sharp tone. "Yes, sir," Maya replied softly. "I believe I'm in 14B. The man didn't respond kindly. He narrowed his eyes and stared at her. Then he laughed a little and said, "Strange. You don't look like someone who belongs here." Maya was confused. "Excuse me? First time on a plane?" he asked, smirking. "Yes, sir," she said politely. He sighed loudly. "Of course. Don't touch my space. I need elbow room." Maya moved her arms closer to her body. She didn't want to cause any trouble. He sat down with a thump, letting out another loud sigh. "What is this airline coming to?" he muttered. Passengers continued to board. Maya kept her eyes on the floor. After a few minutes, the man leaned toward her and asked, "Where are your parents?" "I'm traveling alone, sir." He raised his eyebrows. "Alone? That's interesting." Then he laughed again, this time louder. "Let me guess. Someone gave you this ticket. Charity case." Maya didn't answer. She looked straight ahead, blinking fast so she wouldn't cry. The man kept going. "You people always think you can just show up anywhere," he said, shaking his head. Still, no flight attendant noticed. No one said anything. The other passengers looked down at their phones. Maya felt the sting in her chest grow heavier. "Let me see your ticket," the man demanded. She didn't want to give it, but she also didn't want a scene. So she handed him the boarding pass. He looked at it, snorted, then did something shocking. He ripped it in half right in front of her and dropped the pieces on the floor. Maya gasped quietly. She leaned down to pick it up, her hands trembling. "Oops," he said without emotion. "Guess you'll need a new one." A flight attendant finally walked by. "Everything okay here?" she asked casually. Before Maya could answer, the man spoke first. "She's in the wrong seat. Maybe check her again." The flight attendant looked at Maya. Maya tried to speak, but she couldn't. She just showed the torn pieces. The attendant sighed. "All right, miss. Let's move you to another seat. There's one at the back." Maya's heart broke. She had done nothing wrong, but now she was being moved. Not the man who insulted her, not the man who humiliated her. She nodded quietly and stood up. She didn't even look at the man as she walked down the aisle. Every step felt heavy. Every step felt like shame. She found the new seat, in the back corner near the restroom. The seat didn't even recline. As she sat down again, a tear rolled down her cheek. She wiped it away quickly. Her phone buzzed. It was a text from her mom. "Good luck, baby. I'm so proud of you. No matter what happens today, you already made me smile." Maya took a deep breath. She looked ahead. She could still see the man in 14A, laughing and chatting with the person next to him like nothing happened. She wasn't angry. She wasn't scared. She was tired. But inside her heart, something changed in that moment. She wasn't going to let this break her. Not now. Not ever. She didn't know it yet, but someone behind her, a young man with a phone, had seen everything. He had filmed it all from the start, and he wasn't going to stay quiet. The game had just begun. Maya sat in the back row of the plane, her hands shaking as she held the torn pieces of her boarding pass. The loud noise of passengers settling in felt like distant thunder. Her eyes stared at the seat in front of her, but her mind was far away. She couldn't understand why that man hated her without even knowing her name. She had done nothing wrong. She had followed every rule. Still, he treated her like dirt. She felt small again, like when she was 6 years old and a store clerk followed her around, thinking she might steal something. Like when a boy at school said her skin was too dark to be pretty. She was tired of pretending it didn't hurt. But Maya didn't know one thing. Someone had noticed. Just a few rows ahead, a young man named Jordan was sitting quietly, his phone in hand. He was in his mid-20s, wearing headphones and glasses. He looked like any other traveler, calm, quiet, minding his business. But Jordan had seen everything. He had seen the man's cruel face, heard his cruel words, and watched him tear up Maya's ticket. At first, Jordan had stayed silent, like everyone else. But then he saw the look in Maya's eyes as she was told to move. That look, it was something he couldn't ignore. So he did what his gut told him. He recorded the whole thing on his phone. The moment Maya was sent to the back, Jordan leaned over to the woman sitting next to him. "Did you see what just happened?" he asked quietly. The woman, maybe in her 40s, nodded. "Yes, that poor girl. I wanted to say something, but I didn't know how." Jordan whispered, "I got it on video." Her eyes widened. "Good. People need to see it." Jordan uploaded the video to Twitter with a short caption, "Young black girl humiliated on flight by racist man. Airline staff ignored her. This isn't okay. Hashtag Justice414B. He didn't expect much, maybe a few likes, a few shares. But within 10 minutes, the post had over 5,000 views, and it was just the beginning. Meanwhile, Maya sat in her new seat, trying to disappear. She looked out the tiny window near the bathroom and hugged her backpack to her chest. Every time someone walked past, she felt their eyes on her, but she stayed strong. She didn't cry again. Her mom had taught her, crying isn't weakness, but standing tall is power. She whispered to herself, "I'm going to New York. I'm going to show them who I am." But she had no idea that the world was already watching. Back in row 12, Jordan's phone buzzed again and again. Likes, comments, retweets. People were angry, really angry. One comment said, "That flight crew should be ashamed." Another said, "I hope the airline sees this. That man needs to be banned." Someone else wrote, "Does anyone know who the girl is? She deserves justice." And then, Jordan got a call. It was his mother. She was not just any mom. She was Attorney Vanessa Carter, one of the top civil rights lawyers in the country. Jordan answered, whispering, "Mom, you won't believe what just happened." She listened carefully as he told the story. Then she said, "Send me the video, now. This is going to go viral. I'm going to make sure that girl is protected." Jordan smiled for the first time during the flight, a few rows ahead. The rude man, still in seat 1-4A, was relaxing with his legs stretched out. He ordered a drink and laughed loudly with another passenger. He had no idea what was happening on the internet. No idea that his face was being shared across the country, but the flight crew, they had just been informed. A text message came through the pilot's device. It said, "Urgent. A video has gone viral of an incident on board. Confirm details immediately." The pilot called the lead flight attendant to the cockpit. After a short talk, the mood in the cabin shifted. Something serious was about to happen. Back in the last row, Maya felt her phone buzz. A new message on Instagram, then another, and another. Strangers were messaging her. One said, "We saw what happened to you. You didn't deserve that. We're with you." Another, "You're so brave. That man should be ashamed." Maya blinked, confused. How do they even know? And then she saw the video. It was her face, her seat, her pain, all of it. And the comments? Thousands of people were standing with her. Maya felt something shift inside her chest. She was no longer just a girl in seat 14B. She was now a symbol of strength. Jordan looked down at his phone. The video he posted was now everywhere. Over 200,000 views in less than an hour. And it wasn't just strangers sharing it. News pages, celebrities, and even a few politicians had reposted it. He opened his messages and saw one that made him freeze. "This is CNN News. Can we contact you for an interview when you land?" Jordan couldn't believe it, but he wasn't smiling for himself. He looked toward the back of the plane. Maya was still sitting quietly, hugging her backpack. She looked calm, but he could tell her heart was still heavy. He whispered to the woman beside him, "She has no idea what's happening." The woman nodded. "Poor girl. I hope someone tells her soon." Jordan replied, "She doesn't need to worry right now. The world already knows." Meanwhile, in the cockpit, the pilot, Captain Harris, received another message from airline headquarters. "Do not delay. Identify the passenger responsible. His name is trending. His company has contacted us. Prepare statement." Captain Harris took a deep breath. She was a black woman herself, one of the few female black pilots in the country. She had worked for everything she had, and she knew exactly what it felt like to be treated unfairly. She stepped out of the cockpit and called over the lead flight attendant. "Get the man in 14A's full name. Also, bring me the young girl," he insulted. In row 14, the rude man leaned back in his seat, unaware that his name and face were trending worldwide with the hashtag Justice for 14BHE. Had just told a joke to the man next to him and laughed out loud. He still thought he was the smartest person on the plane, but that confidence was about to disappear. The flight attendant walked up and politely asked, "Sir, may I have your name again? We are checking our system." He looked annoyed. "Why? I already scanned in. It's just a procedure, sir." He mumbled something rude but gave his name. The attendant nodded and walked away. Seconds later, Captain Harris herself began walking down the aisle toward Maya. Maya looked up, surprised to see the pilot standing in front of her. Captain Harris knelt down and gave her a warm smile. "Are you Maya?" she asked gently. Maya nodded. Her voice was soft. "Yes, ma'am. I'm Captain Harris. I just wanted to check on you. Are you okay?" Maya looked down, unsure how to answer. I guess so. I'm just tired." Captain Harris placed a hand on her shoulder. "You didn't do anything wrong. I want you to remember that." Maya's eyes filled with tears, but she nodded. I heard you're going to New York for an interview, the captain asked kindly. Yes, for a scholarship, Maya whispered. Captain Harris smiled wide. Good, because you're strong, and you deserve that seat. In fact, she stood up, looked toward the crew, and said loud enough for many passengers to hear, she deserves more than that. Back in row 12, Jordan saw it all. He opened Twitter again and typed, the pilot just came to speak to Maya herself. Class, respect, power, #justice for 14B. That tweet reached 500,000 likes in just 15 minutes. In first class, someone else was watching the video now. Woman in a business suit turned to the person next to her and said, that's on this flight, isn't it? I think I just saw that girl walk by earlier. The man next to her replied, yeah, I saw it online too. Disgusting. What they didn't know was that she worked for the airline's PR department. And now, she was taking notes. A message flashed across the in-flight screen. This flight may experience a short delay upon landing. Thank you for your patience. Passengers looked around, confused. Some were whispering now. Some were pointing at the man in row 14. He started to notice the strange looks. He leaned over and asked the person beside him, what's going on? The person didn't answer. So the man pulled out his phone, finally turned off airplane mode. Bing buzz, buzz ping. His phone filled with hundreds of messages, missed calls and emails. One of the first notifications he saw was a headline, passenger harasses black teen on plane internet. Calls for lifetime ban. Then he saw his own face in the thumbnail. His hands began to shake. Back in the last row, Maya looked at her phone again. More messages, more love, more people standing up for her. One said, you're trending, Maya, the world is watching your story. Another said, stay strong, you are not alone. Maya didn't know what to say. She just closed her eyes and took a deep breath. She didn't fight back. She didn't scream. She didn't curse him, but still, the truth found its voice. The plane flew smoothly above the clouds, but inside the cabin, a storm was building. Passengers were no longer watching movies or reading books. Whispers spread from seat to seat. Eyes glanced toward row 14. Everyone now knew. The man who had insulted the quiet black girl was the same man all over the internet, and he was still sitting comfortably like nothing happened, but not for long. In the front of the plane, Captain Harris spoke with the head flight attendant and the corporate officer from the airline, the one traveling in first class. She had received a direct call from the company CEO. The video has gone global. We can't ignore it. This is now a legal and public issue. That man will face consequences and the girl must be protected. The airline representative stood up and said firmly, we'll make this right before this plane touches the ground. In row 14, the man started to panic. He scrolled through his phone, trying to delete old posts and lock his accounts. He called someone, probably his lawyer. Then he leaned toward the flight attendant as she passed. Excuse me, he said nervously. Can I speak to the pilot? I'm sorry, sir, she said with a straight face. Captain Harris is busy. I need to explain something. This is a misunderstanding. The attendant raised an eyebrow. Sir, everything was caught on video. There's nothing to explain. The man's face turned red. Passengers nearby watched silently. He was no longer powerful, no longer in control. Now, he was just a man in a seat, waiting for judgment. Back in the rear of the plane, Maya looked out the window. She had seen the tweets, the messages. She knew the world was on her side now, but she still felt tired. Not because of fear, but because this wasn't the first time. Someone had treated her like she didn't belong. She whispered to herself, I just want to get to New York, get my chance. That's all I came here for. A few moments later, the same flight attendant who once moved her came back, but this time with a softer tone. Maya, she said gently, the captain would like to speak with you again. Maya stood up, confused. They walked her toward the front of the plane. Past all the passengers, many of whom now looked at her with respect and quiet support. Some even smiled. A few whispered, we're proud of you. Maya kept her head up. Her mother had taught her, walk like you belong, anywhere. Captain Harris met her near the cockpit with the airline officer. The officer shook Maya's hand. We want to apologize, Maya, we're very sorry for how you were treated. Captain Harris added, you did nothing wrong. You handled everything with grace and strength. Maya blinked. I didn't know what to do. I just stayed quiet. The officer nodded, and your silence spoke louder than his hate. Then she leaned in. When we land, you won't just walk out. You'll walk out with protection, support, and dignity. Back at row 14, the man now sat stiffly in his seat. His phone buzzed again. New notification. You've been banned from Delta Airlines for life. Your employer has released a statement. You are no longer part of their company. He couldn't believe it. He had boarded this flight like a king. Now, he would leave it like a shadow. The final blow came when Captain Harris walked down the aisle with firm steps. She stopped right in front of him. Sir, she said calmly but firmly, upon landing, you will remain seated. Airport security will escort you off the plane. He tried to protest. This is a joke. I was misunderstood, she interrupted. No, sir. The joke ended the moment you tore up a young girl's ticket and insulted her for no reason. The man looked around. Every passenger's eyes were now on him. The seat he once felt proud in had become a seat of shame. At last, the captain made a final announcement. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your patience. We are beginning our descent. Please remain seated until we reach the gate. But one more thing happened before they landed. The pilot added, "We'd like to give special recognition to a young woman on board, someone who showed true courage and strength. Maya, we see you, and we stand with you." The plane erupted into applause. People clapped. Some even cheered. Maya sat in the front row now, and for the first time on that flight, she smiled. The plane touched the ground with a smooth landing, but the hearts of the passengers were still beating fast. This was no longer a normal flight. Something had changed in the air, and everyone knew it. Maya sat in the front row now, where the flight crew had asked her to move after the incident. She held her backpack tightly and looked out the window. The city of New York was just beyond the runway. She had made it, but she didn't know what would happen when she stepped off the plane. Would it all go away quietly? Or was something bigger waiting? As the aircraft rolled toward the gate, the pilot's voice came over the speaker again, clear, calm, and full of meaning. "Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for flying with us today. We have a short message before we allow you to exit." The passengers fell silent. Earlier during this flight, an incident occurred. A young woman, one of our passengers, was mistreated by another person on this aircraft. We want to be very clear. We do not support racism, hate, or disrespect. On our planes, this airline believes in dignity, in equality, and in protecting every person's right to be treated fairly. Gasps, whispers, and nods filled the cabin. The pilot continued. "The individual responsible will be escorted off the plane by airport security. And to our young guest Maya, we thank you for your strength, your calm, and your example. You have more supporters than you know." There was silence for one long second. Then came the applause, loud, real, full of respect. Maya looked down, not sure what to say. Tears welled in her eyes. But this time, they weren't from shame. They were from something else. Pride. At the back of the plane, the man in seat 14 sat frozen. His mouth was dry. His hands, once so confident, now trembled slightly. He saw passengers turning their heads. Some whispered, others stared. No one looked at him with sympathy. He was now the man the world hated, the man who bullied a teenage girl just trying to travel. He pulled out his phone again. But there were no more messages of support, just texts from family asking, "What did you do? Why are you trending? On the news? We're ashamed of you." He put the phone away. It was too late now. The aircraft reached the gate. The door opened, but no one was allowed to exit. Not yet. 2 uniformed officers stepped inside. One stood near the front. "One walked toward row 14 inches, sir," the officer said firmly. "Please come with us." The man swallowed hard. "I didn't do anything. We have the video. Don't make it worse." The officer pointed toward the aisle, shaking. The man stood up. His legs felt weak. As he walked down the aisle, passengers moved away from him. No one clapped. No one looked at him. With kindness, the silence spoke louder than words. He was escorted off the plane, his head down. For him, this was the end of the flight, and the start of his fall. But for Maya, things were just beginning. As the passengers started to exit the plane, many stopped near her seat to say something. "You were amazing. I'm sorry you went through that. Stay strong. We're proud of you." Each voice lifted her a little higher. Finally, the airline officer who had spoken to her earlier returned. "Maya," she said, smiling, "there's someone here to meet you." Maya stepped off the plane and gasped at the gate. Several people were waiting. 2 were reporters. One held a sign that said, "Welcome Maya." Another woman, dressed in business clothes, walked up to her. "I'm from the scholarship program," she said warmly. "We saw what happened and we want you to know. You've already proven your courage." Maya blinked, surprised. "But I didn't even have my interview yet." The woman smiled. "You'll still have it, but we've already decided. We want young women like you to represent our future." Tears filled Maya's eyes again. Not because of what she lost on the plane, but because of what she had gained by being herself. Maya stood near the arrival gate, still shocked. She had just stepped off the plane, expecting to walk out quietly, maybe take a taxi, maybe call her mom, but everything changed. Now she was surrounded by people she didn't know, but who knew her. News reporters, airline staff, and the woman from the scholarship committee were all waiting for her. The flashing cameras, the warm smiles, the small crowd, it felt like a dream. Woman from the scholarship program gently touched Maya's shoulder. "I am so sorry for what happened to you," she said. "But please know, the world saw who you really are. Calm, respectful, strong. That's exactly what we look for in our students." Maya blinked. "So, does this mean?" The woman nodded. "Yes, you're officially accepted into our program, full scholarship, and we're adding your name to our honor list." Maya gasped softly. Her hands covered her mouth. She couldn't speak. Tears rolled down her cheeks. She thought back to that moment when the man ripped her ticket. Now here she was, receiving the biggest opportunity of her life. Just then, someone tapped her gently from the side. It was Jordan, the young man who had recorded the video. He smiled. "Hey," he said, "I hope it's okay. I wanted to introduce myself." Maya turned to him, confused. Yo, I'm the one who posted the video, he said. I saw everything. I couldn't stay quiet. Maya's eyes widened. Wait, that was you? He nodded. Yeah, Jordan, my mom's a civil rights lawyer. She's already talking to the airline. I wanted to make sure you were safe. Maya didn't know what to say. She just whispered, thank you. You didn't have to, but you did. Jordan smiled. Sometimes doing the right thing is simple. You just press record. Suddenly, Maya's phone rang. It was a video call. Her mom. Maya picked up quickly. Hi, Mama, she said, tears still in her eyes. Her mom was crying too. Baby, I just saw everything. I saw the video, the news, the scholarship. I'm so proud of you. Maya nodded, voice shaking. I was scared, but I didn't fight back. I just stayed quiet. Her mom's voice was full of emotion. You didn't need to fight, Maya. You stood tall without saying a word. You showed the world who you are and who we raised you to be. After the call, Jordan spoke again. There's someone else who wants to meet you, he said. Maya looked around, confused. Just then, a police officer walked toward her, but not with anger. She looked calm, kind, respectful. Maya, she asked. Yes, Maya replied softly. The officer smiled. I just wanted to personally apologize. I'm from the airport security team. We watched the footage. We're investigating the man who hurt you. Maya nodded slowly. The officer added, and also, there's someone else outside who asked to speak to you, someone you inspired. Maya walked toward the exit, followed by the scholarship woman and Jordan. Outside, a car had just pulled up. A tall black woman stepped out, wearing a sharp suit and sunglasses. Maya's eyes widened. That Jordan smiled. That's my mom. Vanessa Carter, one of the top civil rights attorneys in the country, walked over and opened her arms. Maya was frozen. Vanessa smiled. I don't usually show up like this, but when I saw what you went through and how you handled it, I had to come meet you in person. Maya stepped forward and hugged her. It felt warm. Strong, safe, Vanessa whispered. You're not just a student, you're a voice. And we need girls like you to lead the future. As cameras flashed and people clapped from a distance, Maya stood tall. From seat 14B to the scholarship stage, from pain to power, from a quiet moment of humiliation to a loud message of hope. She didn't plan for any of this. She just wanted to fly to New York for an interview. But now, she was flying into her destiny. The next morning, Maya sat on the hotel bed, staring at her phone screen. Over 2 million views. That was the number under the video now. Her face was everywhere. Her story had gone from one plane to every corner of the internet. News outlets were talking about it, celebrities had reposted it, even government officials had commented online, calling her an example of strength. But Maya didn't feel famous. She felt overwhelmed that there was a knock at her hotel room door. It was the woman from the scholarship program again. Maya, she said kindly, today's your big day. You have the official welcome ceremony at 11 a.m. We've arranged everything. You'll speak for a few minutes, just from the heart. Maya's eyes widened. Speak. On stage, the woman smiled. You're not just a student now, Maya. You're a symbol. People want to hear from you. Not because of the plane, but because of your heart. Maya nodded slowly. Okay, I'll try. Meanwhile, back in her hometown, Maya's school principal sat in his office, watching the news. The screen showed clips from the flight, interviews with Jordan, and even Captain Harris's announcement. The principal shook his head. She always was one of our best students, he whispered. He picked up his phone and called the staff room. I want to organize something for Maya, a school-wide honor ceremony. Get the media, get the board. She deserves it. Back in New York, Maya was getting ready. She wore a soft lavender dress, simple but elegant. Her braids were tied neatly. She looked in the mirror and whispered, You were strong yesterday. You can be brave today. When she walked into the auditorium, everyone stood and clapped. The room was full of students, teachers, program leaders, and reporters. She walked to the stage, heart pounding. Then she took the microphone. I'm Maya, she began softly. I didn't expect all this. I just came here for a scholarship interview. I didn't want to be known. I didn't want to be recorded. She paused, voice shaking slightly. But sometimes, we're placed in the middle of something bigger, and how we act in that moment can change everything. She looked around the room. I didn't shout, I didn't fight, I didn't even speak up. But I hope people saw something. That no matter how people treat you, you don't have to become like them. The room was quiet now, listening deeply. I'm just a girl from a small town. But now I know small voices matter. Even silence has power. As she stepped back, the crowd stood up and clapped again, louder this time. Maya smiled. This time, it wasn't nervous. It was proud. Later that afternoon, Maya received a call. It was the mayor of her hometown. Hi Maya, we're so proud of you. When you come home, we want to honor you with a special event. And we're giving you the key to the city. Maya almost dropped the phone. Yes, you. The mayor laughed. You've shown the world what true strength looks like. That evening, Maya walked outside her hotel and saw Jordan again. He was leaning against a bench, phone in hand. He said, I saw your speech. You crushed it. She smiled. Thank you. You changed everything for me, you know? Jordan shook his head. No, You were always strong. I just pressed record. They both laughed. Then Maya asked, can I ask something? Sure. Why did you care? So many people saw what happened, but they stayed silent. Jordan looked at her and said, because silence helps the bully, but truth helps the brave. And that day you were the bravest person on that plane. A few days had passed. Maya's story was now a national headline. Her speech at the scholarship ceremony had been shown on television. She had gone from a quiet girl on a plane to someone people called a symbol of strength. She had been offered interviews, school honors, and even a spot on a student leadership board. But Maya stayed humble. She still wore her same sneakers, still texted her mom every night, and still said thank you to every person who wished her well. Yet even with all the attention, one moment still lived in her mind. That day on the plane, seat 14B, the torn ticket, the silence, and that man's cruel face. One morning, Maya sat alone on a bench outside the university building. Her phone buzzed. An unknown number. She hesitated, then answered, hello. A code. Pause. Then a voice, older, slower, deeper than she remembered. Is this Maya? Her stomach dropped. She recognized that voice. Yes, she said cautiously. I don't expect you to say anything. The voice continued. I wanted to call. I saw the video. I saw the news. I saw myself. It was him, the man from the plane, the one who had insulted her, ripped her ticket, made her feel small. Now, he sounded broken. I've lost my job, he said. My company released me. My own daughter stopped speaking to me. She's your age. Maya stayed silent. He took a shaky breath. I don't want your forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But I needed to tell you. I was wrong. Still, Maya said nothing. I don't know why I said those things. Maybe I've lived too long with hate in my heart. Maybe I thought I was better than others. But when I saw how you handled it, when you didn't even say a word, I realized, you're more of a person than I've ever been. Tears formed in Maya's eyes, not out of pain but release. She finally spoke. I don't hate you, she said softly. The man broke down on the phone. He whispered thank you. Before hanging up, Maya sat in silence, staring at the sky. She had no anger left, no fear, no doubt. Weeks later, she returned to her hometown. The entire school gathered to welcome her. Banners, balloons, speeches. Her mother held her hand proudly. The mayor gave her the key to the city. News reporters asked, what would you say to other young girls watching your story? Maya smiled gently. You don't need to fight with loud voices. Just stand. Sometimes standing quietly is the loudest thing you can do. The crowd clapped. That night, Maya sat on her bed, finally alone. She looked at her suitcase, the same one she had taken on that flight. She opened the front pocket and found something torn. Her old boarding pass, the one he had ripped. She had kept it. She smiled and whispered, seat 1 for B, where I lost my voice, but found my power. She folded it gently and placed it in her journal. Her journey was just beginning.